Thank you very much, Honourable Kele. And I must say that the COGTA Portfolio Committee is an extremely active committee and has been on the ground, wherever issues arise. I want to also say that, as the KwaZulu-Natal legislature, we have called ourselves an activist legislature. And what we mean by that is when issues are raised, we do follow up and make sure that they are addressed. So I'm glad that the Water Crisis Committee has come to us, and we will be also tracking what is going on. All right, without further ado, let me hand over to the representatives from the Department of COGTA, KZN, to make an input. I'm not sure who is going to speak on your behalf, if it's one or many, but you will guide us. Who's leading this team, by the way, in the absence of the HOD?
Chair, sorry, I haven't put my hand up. I'm on my phone. It's Lisa Del Grande speaking.
Okay.
I was hoping that my Chief Director, Ms. Jama or Ms. Kuzwayo, who worked closely with the Metro on the water issues, may want to comment or respond on the issues. But I think we have covered, I think one of the issues maybe we need to take responsibility for in responding just very briefly without opening up any of the discussions. We'd really prefer in this case to be led by the Metro. We have a number of forums where we are, in fact the one was meeting this morning at 8, where we are engaging with the Metro around a number of these issues and trying to support them to respond effectively. Is to just take responsibility for not having formally responded to the letter or email that was sent to our head of department in sufficient time to ensure that the committee does understand that it isn't because we're not taking the issue seriously. I think we just weren't able to get to the matter and give an effective response as quickly as we should have. But I also would like to say that perhaps a joint response like this with the various role players is probably the better way to engage with the committee. But maybe just to accept apology, if possible, for not having responded as timeously as we should have. But I'm not sure if my colleague, Ms. Jama or Ms. Kuzwayo, wants to speak to any specific issue. But we did discuss attending this meeting. But being led by Mr. Msweli and his team from the Metro, as we do work in support of the work that they are doing.
Thanks. Thank you, Ms. Durand. That's correct. I did outline at the beginning this issue of responsibility and where it falls. So this is local government, and whilst you are COGTA, you are actually provincial government, which has responsibilities more generally and dispersed. But if Ms. Jama wants to speak, she's more than welcome. Otherwise, we'll go to the Metro, Mr. Msweli, who I think whose head is a bit on the block right now. Ms. Jama, are you covered? Yes?
Good morning. Good morning again, ma'am. Yes, I'm covered. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Just so that the Water Crisis Committee is aware, COGTA would be serving in structures jointly with the municipality, but ultimately it would be the municipality that would be responsible for executing and implementing the issues. So without further ado, let me go to Mr. Msweli. And your team, Mr. Msweli.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to the leadership present. Okay, I see Mr. Makanya wants to probably come in before me, Chair.
Mr. Makanya, I see your hand is up. Mr. Makanya, yes.
Good morning, Chair and Honorable Chair and Honorable members of the committee and all stakeholders in the House. If I can start, then Ethnic will then add. I'm Sibusiso Makanya, the Deputy City Manager responsible for water, electricity, and solid waste. Just to give an overview, indeed, as it has been, the overview has been given by the chairperson or the secretary of the Verulam Water Crisis. The matter was reported to the Human Rights Commission. From there, there have been meetings twice a week, where basically we're engaging with them on issues that are affecting that supply on daily basis. Over the period of time, we've since then reduced the engagements to once a week. Since basically we're not getting enough time to do the work on the ground. Basically, we're doing to a greater degree, we're doing mostly the reporting. Just to give an overview, the Verulam on the technical side of things, Verulam and the Phoenix, part of these areas are getting water from the Durban Heights, which is actually getting water from Pietermaritzburg, and part of it is like the Phoenix is getting water from the localized source, which is Phoenix Wastewater Work, and part of it is getting water from Hazelmere. To a greater degree, the systems from Umgeni Water is actually constrained. That's the reason why we are building the dam in we are building the dam in Nkomazi to try and deal with the water shortage, because at the moment, as things stand, the demand far exceeds the supply. But in the meanwhile, while we are waiting for the dam to be completed or to be constructed, let me say that was still at the planning stage. There are a couple of initiatives that we are doing to try and manage the system with its own challenges. In these meetings, I personally attend them because of the importance of it, together with Ethnic and his team. Umgeni as well is part and parcel of those meetings on continuous basis. As and when we feel that there is a particular stakeholder that is needed, I normally make sure that stakeholder is invited to the meeting, so that we actually engage on those issues. Why, as I've indicated, well, I also chair the Catchment Management Agency, which is basically responsible for the water resource side of things. As I've indicated, yes, there are multiple problems. Amongst those problems, the biggest of them being the demand that far exceeds the supply at the moment. As a result of that, Umgeni Water, they've got some notices from now the Catchment Management Agency to say they are over abstracting. In terms of the contracted volume and everything, at the moment we are over abstracting due to the demand that is extremely high. We are managing that on daily basis. In these meetings that I'm talking about, they normally last for an hour. We normally present everything that we have at that point in time, from Umgeni Water giving the bulk side of things, because they are the provider of water, with the exception of Otungat, which is a smaller plant, but the greater aspect of water or quantities of water are coming from Umgeni Water side. Yes, we must admit, Chairperson, as I've indicated, that the bigger problem is that the demand far exceeds the supply, so the problem is not yet sorted out. We are trying different strategies in terms of trying to make sure that temporarily, while we're building the dam, we are meeting at least the basic minimum. There are times where the situation becomes out of control, as it has been indicated during the strike, but in other instances where we discover that there are bigger challenges, like in our last meeting, where we're only in the meeting for 30 minutes because we discovered that there were some technical issues that the head in particular was not aware of. Then he requested the community representative to be excused while he's getting to the bottom of the matter. And I was made to understand that the presentation was then forwarded to the stakeholders to update them about the challenges. to highlight, Chair, as I've indicated, the problem is there. We cannot deny the problem is there, but there are different strategies that are being implemented to try and deal with the matter. So let me then hand over to Ethnic so that he can talk to the technical aspect of what I have spoken about as an overview. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks very much, Mr. Makanya, and thanks for that information. I think it helps to clarify. Let me hand over to Ednick.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. And I also wanted to greet the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Zinhle, and any other leadership that is present. Chair, I don't know how much time you've got for us, because we had prepared a presentation that would just take us through what the challenge is and how we are dealing with it.
Let's take that presentation, because I think that's the information we require. Yes.
Maybe
Are you able to flight it, or?
I've got my colleagues here. They'll flight it, and
okay. So I think that would assist.
10 minutes or so, Chairperson.
That's fine.
Okay. So, Chabdan, you're going to start, and then Bhavna that spoke earlier would also come in. You can start, Chabdan.
Thank you, Mr. Msoli, and good morning, Honorable Kavenda, as well as other colleagues. So I'll just start with the presentation of basically stating the problem and where we are in trying to resolve the issue. So just the background on where the problem started. So basically the issue started around November 2018, when a decision was taken to close off Reservoir 3, which supplies the north. And then when that was done, Tugela had to utilize Reservoir 2, which supplies the southern region, so for both north and south. And then ultimately there was no storage to supply water to both north and southern upper duct. So when that was done, we to ensure continuous supply, basically in the north region, which got high demand, we agreed with Ngeni that we'll close off, because we've got two pipelines that are supplying the north. So what we're doing at night, we're closing off one leg to ensure that areas that are high at the highest elevation or at the end of the system receive water, because you need some pressure to supply those areas. So that was done to ensure that in the next morning we had enough head to supply those areas, basically into Zuma 2 as well as Mount View reservoirs. So because of that, the system was getting drained and filled in the morning. So obviously the system is not designed for that. So we damage infrastructure whilst we are doing that. Basically components like your air valves were damaged in that process. So what has been done to correct this? The two pipelines run over a distance of 35 kilometers. We've replaced and serviced 75 air valves in the course of this year and partly last year. We also service butterfly valves, which are also in that northern upper duct pipeline. So we've also conducted various step tests to ascertain if we are not losing water in the upper duct. So in terms of the business continuity plans that have been put in place, I think I'm going to check on the program on the new pipeline. So that's been constructed and is in place, just awaiting commissioning. So this will ensure reliability of supply in the north area. So we're also working with Umgeni together to finalize the hydraulic model to ensure that we all understand the system behavior when we've got reduced supply. And the action plan, we've got 4 items that we're also working in parallel beside commissioning the upper duct. We all know that vandalism is an issue, so we're currently busy procurement of the control valves at basically on all our reservoirs where we've got vandalism, mainly Newlands, because we've got sufficient supply there. So if we cut there, and then we'll ensure that we've got adequate supply for areas like Phoenix as well as Verulam. So that process is in place, so it will take about 4 to 6 weeks. And then the commissioning of the new aqueducts that we anticipate to commission that around the 11th of June. And then there's also the portion of water demand, water conservation and water demand management program that we're going to be implementing for Phoenix 2 zone, because we've got high demand in that reservoir zone, so that we can ensure that everyone receives water. And then we're currently busy with process of appointing a service provider. Then the fourth one is a proactive leak detection and repair services that will deal with the high non-revenue that we've got in the city. This is just a program. I'll just go to the last point that talks about the commissioning of the new line. So the key point is that one that talks to the issue of engagement on water, because they are limited with the bulk water that is available at Durban Heights and the entire Mngeni system. So UTCM spoke about that. So we have to draw an additional 30 megaliters to commission that pipeline. So we're currently busy with arrangement how we're going to manage that to ensure that we do not deplete the areas that are currently receiving water. So we currently engaging in Mngeni to ensure that we cut back in some areas so that we can make that 30 megs available. So the program talks about 11th of June, where we're going to commission the entire pipeline. And then that's just what's going to happen when we commission that pipeline. So it's going to separate the areas. So Phoenix, Management, and Amawoti, and item 2 is Verulam, which gets water from Manview. So they'll be supplied from the 1200 pipeline. And then while the rest of the areas will remain on the existing aqueduct. So we hope by doing that, we'll ensure assurance of supply. However, we do have limitations in terms of bulk water availability from the bulk source. So there's not going to be any increase in terms of bulk water that's available. That's why we're saying after this, we'll urge consumers to change their behavior so that everyone can have access to water supply, especially Phoenix area where we've got static tanks that are connected to the system. Because after the commissioning of this aqueduct, there's no new water that the city will have up until 2028, which is the South Coast areas, and then 2032, which is the Upper Nkomazi scheme. So it's just the notes in terms of the bulk supply deficit that UTCM Makanya spoke about. Our demand is kept at 1105 megaliters a day for the next 4 years. New water, like I've alluded to, will only be available in 2028, but that will be benefit the south areas as well as partly the western areas with an additional of 60 megaliters a day. So we do a load shift there to ensure that some areas are getting water. For north, south, and western areas, additional water will only be available in near 2032 when the Upper Nkomazi scheme is completed. So consumers are therefore need to reduce consumption. Similar to City of Cape Town, when they were facing day zero, their consumption is almost half. So they are aware of what happened when you're facing day zero. So the city is almost in a similar situation. If you take into account that we've received a directive from DWS that we need to reduce our demand that we currently have in the system. So we've asked for a delay by 6 months so that we can try and work on the issues surrounding Verulam and Phoenix before they implement those curtailments. So I spoke about the Phoenix 2 zone where we've got excessive demand because of static tanks that are connected to the reticulation system. So Phoenix 2, because it's the same lake as Mount View Reservoir. So what happens when Phoenix 2 draws more water, it obviously affects water that goes to Mount View. But we hope by commissioning the new trunk line, which will just be dedicated to both Phoenix and Verulam, it will ensure supply stability. So that will be on the 11th of June, but it's also dependent on availability of water from Mngeni to. But like I've stated, we'll make plans to load shift the system and do curtailments when we need to commission, because we need an extra 30 megs in the system. So the next slide speaks about medium-term to long-term interventions for man-view system. I'm not sure if Bhavna wants to take over from here. Bhavna?
Yeah, okay, I can do that. Let me share so I can control the movement of the slide as well. Morning, everybody. I'm Bhavna Soni, Deputy Head, Water and Sanitation Unit. We mainly implement projects. I'm going to go through the long-term and medium-term projects that are planned.
We can see the screen, Bhavna. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just putting it in the presentation mode, so it makes it a bit bigger. Thank you. So, as Jabulani has indicated, Mount View area gets water currently from Durban Heights. So there is this system coming from Durban Heights that supplies into Mount View. So I'm going to talk about few projects, and then the last one is a project where we want to bring a reversal from Hazelmere system into that, which is a limited amount, but there is an option to supply some amount of water if Hazelmere can provide additional water to Ethekwini. So first project is a construction of a Trenance 3 reservoir, tower and associated work. The second one is the Mount View to Trenance pump set, and then another pump set from Trenance 1 to Trenance 3, which our M&E team are busy. And the last one is a flow reversal. So this is the Trenance 3 reservoir. We will be building a 4 megaliter reservoir at Trenance 3, which is a biggest zone in this Mount View system. And there's a 400 kiloliter elevated tank that we'll be installing to upsize the storage capacity. The pump station will be upgraded and the associated work. So currently we at the design stage, the consultants, we're waiting for the letter of award for the consultant. And as soon as the letter of award is been given, we have the cash flow, we have the project plan for the next 3 years on the budget that can be spent. So the budget is allocated in the MTREF. Thereafter, the construction contract will be implemented to construct this 4 megaliter reservoir at Trenance 3 site. The next one is the pump system as well. So Mount View reservoir pumps to the Trenance 1 reservoir, and Trenance 1 pumps to the Trenance 3. So it's a whole pumping system. This pumping system, the pumps will be upgraded. Our M&E is busy. The budget has been allocated in the new MTREF. And the target for the BSC, they're just giving us the target date for the committees, and the plan completion is June 2025. The next one is the reversal that we spoke about, Grange to Mount View. So they used to, Mount View before used to get water from Hazelmere. So there used to be a pumping main from Grange to Mount View. And when the demand increased, we started supply from Durban Heights, which was under gravity. So Durban Heights used to supply Mount View, and that is now the primary supply into Mount View area. This existing pipeline is a 200 pipeline, which is quite old, is an AC pipe, and it servitude goes through the private property, and it's not in a state of supplying. So there was a gravity supply that exists from Mount View to Grange as a supply from the Durban Heights into that system. Now we're planning to reverse that steel main from Mount View to Grange to make it the other way around and pump from Grange into Mount View to give additional water into Mount View. That supply will be from the Hazelmere system. So that just gives you the background, which I spoke about. The existing pipe is a steel pipe that we want to convert that into pumping main. So the milestone is that we are doing the site investigation and design calculation. We'll produce a drawing, servitude registration, conditional assessment, pressure testing. Those are the scope that we need to do in order to implement this project. So we have completed the site investigation, design calculation. Now we're ready with the drawings. So the drawings are currently with our drafting office. It will be completed by the 30th of April. And thereafter, the drawings will be given to our construction department. And they will be implementing the project for us. That's in-house, so we don't have to follow the procurement process. Only thing I would like to highlight is the budget allocation is still in the process of getting allocated. They will need to find a budget to implement this project. So pipeline has been rerouted because that was a risk. It's going through the private property. The existing steel pipe as well are nearly 1 kilometer. So that will be rerouted on the road. And the pumps itself at Grange doesn't meet the requirements, so that pump size will be upgraded as well, which is also catered for in our new MTREF. So as I indicated, the drawing will be handed over to construction team soon, and then the upsizing of the pump, that just gives the project number, contract number, and details to say by when we want to start implementing this project. Is a 10-month project, should be completed in January 2025. Now, the next system is a Grange system. As a Verulam covers two systems, one coming from Mount View, another one from the Grange system. The Grange gets water from Hazelmere. So Hazelmere to Grange pipeline, we are upgrading that pipeline. I will give you the details of that. So that one of the project is that to upgrade pipeline right from Hazelmere right up to the Grange reservoir, commissioning of the existing Nyokeni tower, construction of a pipeline from Dwedwe Reservoir to Nyokeni Tower, construction of a Quarry Height Reservoir and Tower, and the Grange to Mount View, which I spoke about earlier, is from the system that we will be implementing. These are the medium to long-term projects. So Hazelmere to Grange, just few photographs to show that it is under construction. It's done in two phases. So we, from Hazelmere to there's a bridge called Canelands Bridge. So the phase 1 is up to there, and from bridge towards the Grange Reservoir is phase 2. So phase 1 from Hazelmere to the Canelands Bridge has been completed. We have even refurbished the Canelands Bridge, which was 100-year-old, very innovative way of building that bridge. We didn't demolish, but utilize it by building a bridge inside a bridge. So that also has been completed. Now the last portion from the bridge till the Grange Reservoir is under construction and is planned to be completed by June 2024. So that's all in hand. This talks about the information I just gave. Yeah, 1.3 kilometer from Hazelmere, 3.3 kilometer from Hazelmere Grange that completed. Phase 1 kilometer Canelands to Grange is under construction and will be completed. Areas that will benefit from that will be the Grange, Everest Height, Redcliffe, Mount View area. Mount View will be a limited supply, but yes, depending on what's available from Hazelmere, water treatment work, which belongs to Amgeni, we will be able to put some water into Mount View. Commissioning of the Nyokeni Tower. So there is an existing tower that is not functional due to not having enough water coming to that tank. So we have initiated another project. We're doing the tie-in and bringing water from the Dwedwe Reservoir. The existing pipe was a very small 160, so we had upgraded that to 300 steel pipe. From Dwedwe Reservoir, which belongs to Amgeni, we are laying a pipeline which will be completed by November 2024 to commission this existing tower that will supply a small zone of Nyokeni high level. The low level zone will be supplied from the Dwedwe Reservoir, which is Amgeni's reservoir at the moment, until the long-term solution. That's a new project. Quarry Height Reservoir will be built and the elevated tank. That project is still at planning stage. So the proposed is ultimate storage capacity is 20. For the first phase is 10 megaliter of reservoir will be built at Quarry Height, and a tower of 300 kiloliter will be built. The feasibility has been completed and project is at land acquisition stage. Once the land acquisition has been completed, it will be handed over to our design department from planning, and they will start the process of implementing the project or designing and thereafter implementation. Water will be pumped from Grange Reservoir to Quarry Height. So the new reservoir that we're building, we will be utilizing that. So there will be an upsizing of that pipeline as well. The new pipeline from Quarry Height to a low-level zone around the quarry as well will be done, and the pump upgrade at Grange. The new reservoir will supply the Redcliffe zone and the Grange zone. So what it will do is now it will relieve the capacity available at Grange and Redcliffe, which currently they're battling with the demand. So this project will support that demand in the Redcliffe area. This will provide the improved water supply to the quarry area, and that is currently under constraint. More water will be supplied to the Nyokeni area, improving the existing supply. So part of Nyokeni will also be supplied from Quarry Height Reservoir. So that will improve the overall supply zone or supply system within Verulam area. This is just the map that shows the dark peach color you can see it shows high level zone. That's a Nokeni where the tower is, that they will supply that zone. And the pinkish area around that you can see will be supplied by Dwedwe Reservoir, which is up somewhere on the other side of the Hazelmere Dam. There is a pipeline 300 still constructed that will supply this pink zone. And currently supply from that 160, which is not sufficient. And it will improve the supply going into part of the Verulam area. Then you can see the high level to brownish area that we can see. That will be for the quarry height. There will be a reservoir, quarry height reservoir, and a tower that will supply this darkish area that we can see on this aerial map, the brownish high level zone. The tower supplies that, and the blue zone will be supplied by the reservoir itself. That will relieve the supply coming from Grange and Redcliffe into this area, and overall supply for the Redcliffe and Verulam supply zone will be improved. Thank you, Chair. So that's end of my presentation. It just gives you your long-term and the medium-term projects. So some projects are under construction, whereas some are still at the planning stage. Thank you, Chair. I'm done. I'll hand over to Ednick if he's still around.
Chair, if you allow me 1 minute just to put in context what we're saying. Yes, 1 minute. Yes.
And while you're doing that, let me just raise one matter which I think you would be able to cover. You see, I've been looking at the time frames, and I've heard what Mr. Lil Rattan has said in terms of the the shortage of water. What strategies are you employing, given the time frame, to ensure that water is provided to people? Can you just incorporate that?
No, thank you, Chairperson. I think my input is linked to the question you just posed, because what I wanted to put in context is that this aqueduct, because all these areas we're talking about that are affected are supplied from this so-called northern aqueduct. So it's a long pipeline, 35 kilometers, and it supplies a number of areas. So Phoenix is there, but the areas we're talking about today are unfortunately at the end of this 35 kilometers. So anything that you do on the pipeline, they would benefit last, because they're right at the end, which is Verulam and the areas that we are talking about. So when Jabulani was talking about some of the work that we've done already, repairing the air valves, he spoke about 75 valves. Other areas that are upstream already benefited, but this benefit did not go far enough to benefit Verulam in the areas we're talking about, because they are right at the end. So that was phase one of the intervention, was, as he said, just fixing the valves. So that was done successfully. And then just when we completed that, Chairperson, then we were hit with a strike, because what we would have done if there was no strike, immediately after that would have started the commissioning of the new pipeline. Because I think even Roshan covered that we had a new pipeline ready. That was the plan. Obviously, then we were hit with a strike. It's only after the strike that we've then now started with the work of commissioning the new aqueduct. So really, Verulam is going to, in the areas we're talking about, would be resolved as soon as we finish the commissioning. I think Jabulani explained that quite well when he showed how we're going to separate the pipelines. So they'll have a dedicated pipeline. We think that will improve the supply to the area. So that's what we are now putting our efforts on at the moment. It's a case of how quickly we can finish this commissioning of the new aqueduct. So in the interim, then, Chairperson, how we're dealing with it, I think, again, Roshan did mention it's not really 400 water tankers, but we have quite a number of water tankers that the municipality hires. There's one way that we are dealing with it. They are never sufficient, Chairperson, because you would need a lot if you really wanted to meet the full demand. I think in one of the areas we have installed a borehole. So I think that's maybe Redcliffe. I think we've installed a borehole there. But that's throughout the city, we have a huge program of boreholes and static tanks. So, Chairperson, I think we are together in terms of saying there is a challenge, and the plan is clear on our side. But the pain is, again, I guess it's just how long it's taking us to get to a stage where we can say water is fully restored. So right now, what is on the critical path is this commissioning of this new northern aqueduct. As soon as we finish that, we think the problem should be resolved, Chairperson. But I'm not going to repeat what's been said. There is a problem at source, because if you were to bring Umgeni Water to this meeting, Chairperson, they would say to you that they are giving us the volumes that we are supposed to get, and they'll call that contracted volumes. But those contracted volumes are lower than what the actual demand is on the ground, so they don't meet the demand. Hence the challenge that we are in now. So Ngeni is saying I'm giving enough water. We're saying the demand is higher than what is contracted, and that creates a shortfall that we are dealing with. Yeah, thank you, Chair. I thought I'll just try and summarize what we are trying to say, is that what I think we need to be monitored on is the commissioning of the new Northern Aqueduct, because that's what will take us to the solution. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, can I just ask a question from
Yes, Honourable Cela.
From what Mr. Msweli has just said?
Proceed, Honourable Cela.
He is speaking about the water that he's getting from Umgeni, that Umgeni is not giving us enough water compared to the demand. What needs to be done to improve that? Is Umgeni not able to give us enough supply so that we can be able to assist our people with the demand on the ground? And I just want to also find out from DWS, why do they keep on giving us restrictions when they know for a fact that Ethekwini, even the president declared it as a huge problem of water after the storms and everything and all the damage that has happened in Ethekwini? Can I get a response from them to say that why do they continue to want to throttle the water that is being given to Ethekwini, even if they see that there is a huge challenge on the ground? And also to Mr. Msweli, I hear the plans. What are we doing today? Today, people don't have water. Children don't have water. The elderly don't have access to water. I hear him speaking about one borehole. Why would you have one borehole when you have the whole of Verulam having a challenge with water? Why can't we put as many boreholes, put as many JoJo tanks on the ground while we are dealing with the rest of everything that we are doing? I thought that is what we were presented that the municipality would do. Things that we can go out and say in this ward, which has 7 VDs, each VD has its own tank that we fill up. You don't need the water tankers. You need JoJo tanks. That needs to be always been filled up with water at least 2 to 3 times a day with one water tanker that can work in one ward. So can we find a way of working smarter? Because we cannot come and sit in these meetings when you have municipality that's supposed to have people that deals directly with the issues of water that must assist our communities, and we must come and get our communities to be this frustrated. The fact that they've even written to the United Nations, and we received someone here in this meeting, Honorable Chair, that says that we apologize that we've not responded to your emails. That I won't accept. Ms. Chama, where is the HOD? Why she's not part of this meeting? I want to understand why were those meetings not responded to, those messages that were sent by people. Why were those messages not responded to? I don't want to accept that thing that I've heard here from DSW saying we apologize that we did not respond. We apologize that you did not respond when you have people that they know that they're supposed to be responding. Even if it's not your job to provide water on the ground because you're not the municipality. The issue of a response. I need something in writing that must tell us why those emails were not responded to, Ms. Chama. And I need to know where's the HOD, why she's not part of this meeting.
Thanks, Honourable Keller. I think you expressing the frustration that, and I think you adequately, very, very well are representing the frustration I'm sure the community is feeling. I think I did raise this matter, that we understand, yeah, it's going to take long, we're not disputing that, but what is the relief to be provided to residents in the interim, right? You've said one borehole and water tankers, right? And I'd like Mr. Lilrathan he's already expressed his frustration about the water. The issues of the department, well, I think they can respond. Can we ask Suzanne to mute, please? I'm not sure who Suzanne is, but can you mute? Thank you. Yes. So I think the priority here is relief to people. You know, people who are prepared will wait if they know that something is going to be put right. But they also need to have their basic needs met in the interim. Let me go back to you, Mr. Msweli, and COGTA, you can explain again if you wish. Let me deal with Mr. Msweli first.
Thank you, Chairperson, and to Honourable Etsel as well. Just to respond to the question whether Umgeni is not able to give us enough water. They have a constraint, because even prior to all of this, they had already written to the city to say they have to cap our supply to the city at 1,105 megalitres a day. I think that is informed by what we would call the yield from the dam. So that's what you can take from all the dams. So that's informed by the water that is available. So when they then contract with us in terms of volumes, they are not able to contract more than what the dams can give them. So that's why that's a dilemma that I think we all face. So the 1105 is the limit in terms of what they can make available to us. That's why then the presenters were saying until such time that Umkomazi Dam comes online, then you obviously will have more water. On our side, it's the water losses that also become a problem. So we are working on that, because currently we're at 56%. Not all of that is physical losses, water being lost, but we would have to work on the component of that is physical water that's been lost, because it means that water potentially could go to people. So that's just in terms of the availability of water resources. What we are doing today, Chairperson, today I'm expecting that on our side, the city manager is going to sign off, or at the very latest Monday, or a letter of award to appoint the contractors that would roll out the JoJo tanks for us. So we are doing them internally at the moment using our internal resources. So it's not moving as fast, and then we are just enhancing that capacity with the contractors. So and the department, your department, has already supported us with the JoJo tanks. I think you gave us close to 100 recently, just in the last month, and those are the JoJo tanks that we are currently installing. So you've assisted us there. So even here, we will deliver more. We worked out that we need about 509 JoJo tanks installed citywide. So these areas will be part of that. The boreholes, the one that I was mentioning is in Tenants 3, I think, is the one that has been commissioned and in use. But the program itself is going to deliver about 200 boreholes citywide. So, but we've started, even currently we're busy with a few, we just haven't commissioned them. I think it's about 30 that we are busy with. But the others, we're still dealing with the water quality issues.
My apologies, Chair, and my apologies to you, Mr. Msweli.
Yeah.
In this meeting, I'm not interested on what you're doing citywide. The people that are in this meeting are people that are very specific. Can we zoom in to the people of Verulam and you tell us, Verulam has how many wards, how many VDs, how many areas that we're going to put JoJo tanks in, how many boreholes we're going to, what is the plan for the people that are in this meeting? Thank you.
Thanks, Honourable Tele. That was what I was coming to. Yes, Mr. Msweli.
I don't have the exact information in front of me, but the number I know it's about 3 in the and that's about Ward 59, Ward 60, Ward 61, Ward 62. Those wards. I think 3 are on the go at the moment.
What, Mr. Msweli?
I just mentioned the wards that are relevant. I think it's around Ward 59. I know that's where the one is installed, but we're also working.
Okay, that's boreholes.
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't have the, just to be 100% correct, I don't have that report in front of me, but it's about 4 wards that we are working in. in that part of the city. But the one is commissioned, and about 3 others are under construction.
Okay, and then in terms of water tankers, because whilst that's under construction, people still don't have water provision for them. How many tankers have you allocated there?
Okay, I think you put me there, boss. It's 80, about 80 for the north, but now you want the specific area.
Yes, because you see, I want Mr. Lil Rathan to be able to go back and tell the community there, look here, guys, there are 4 boreholes. One is already operational, 3 are going to take place, and by when? Water tankers, these are the number of water tankers, this is where they are going. I think as the chairperson of COGTA pointed out, we want specifics, please. Maybe while you are here,
proceeds. Yeah,
some of your people can go and get that information. I'm sure it's available, and you can tell us by the end of the meeting.
I'll do that. I'll find out that number now, because you want the number specific to these areas. Yes.
Correct.
Yes, I'll get that.
We don't want Mr. Lil Rathan to feel that he's come here and is leaving without information. I must also say, while we are on the platform here, Mr. Msweli, that the information you've provided, the overall plan is very useful. And I think, for the city as a whole and the northern areas, it will provide, some guidelines. But, immediate needs, at the end of the day, the people who raise the issue, they need to be addressed. And let's get that information. So let's wait for you to come back with that, because I also see another hand. Who is Macefield Angela? Please tell us who you are. That hand is up.
Good day, Chair, Honourable Dele, members. I'm Angela Macefield. I'm from the National Department of Water and Sanitation. I'm acting provincial head, and I would just like to respond to Honourable Dele about why we and Mgeni Water don't make more water available. The department licenses the amount of water that can be extracted from the Mgeni supply system by Mgeni Water, who treat it and supply it to Ethekwini under contract, and that's where they talk about their contracted volumes. The amount of water that we can allow Mgeni to abstract from this supply system is dependent on what the water resources can yield, and we can't allow them to abstract more than is available from the system. Otherwise, we will run it dry and we will have a day zero when there is insufficient water to meet the demands. So what I'm saying is that the demands are exceeding what is available in the system, and Mgeni have a license. And in October last year, we instructed Mgeni to reduce their abstractions back to within their licensed volumes. They have had to put together plans, and the municipalities need to reduce their consumption so that Mgeni can come back to within the licensed volumes. They initially had a 6-month period where there would be no reduction in what was being abstracted, and they have recently asked for a further 6 months extension. So meaning that they are still abstracting more than what is licensed, and we are able to consider this request at the moment because the system is full. That we have had a good rainfall season, and we most likely won't be having to bring the consumption back to exactly the license volumes in the short term. What needs to be done in the short term is for extreme attention to be paid to the 46% water losses that are experienced in the system, as well as the nearly, I think it's 58% non-revenue water. Not only are the water losses making the usage within Ethekwini very high, but people not paying for water, people who can afford to pay not paying for water, has resulted in the per capita consumption within the Ethekwini being some of the highest in the country and way above what is internationally accepted. So these are areas that really need a lot of attention so that this water can be saved and ensure that water systems are stabilized and water provided to consumers who at the moment don't have stable supply. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Macefield, for that information. I suppose we should thank nature that we have got the good rainfall, because it gives a bit of a breathing space to the municipality. But I think that we are in a difficult situation. I think none of us can deny that. Part of it is, historic situation. It didn't start today. We can see that the municipality has put in place these programs. I think the strike definitely has not helped us. And, as far as possible, those are things we cannot entertain. Sabotage of infrastructure and all of that, not acceptable. But we do see the measures. And I think, Mr. Lil Rathan, you and your committee are also reasonable people. You will see that you can't rush it, because they rush something, you'll find that it doesn't serve, it doesn't work, and then money is wasted. But what we need, I think the important thing here for all of us, is the assurance and the details, the facts and figures, that the community will be assisted in the interim whilst all these other things are happening. Seems to me the earliest one is in 4 to 6 weeks, and then it's the next time frame, etc., which obviously will be monitored. We've asked for that report to be given to us as well, so we will monitor. But tell us, what for this community, Verulam, and the wards around there, how many tankers, how many boreholes, by when? And so Mr. Lil Rathan can go back and at least tell his community, this is what is happening and this is what is going to happen. Is that report now ready?
Yeah, Chairperson, I think I can show you here quickly.
Okay.
I'm sure you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. And if you could please make sure that Cabo, our administrator, gets a copy of this.
Yeah, so this one is the boreholes that I was referring to earlier. Trenants, okay, Okunjin. When I was saying Ward 59.3, you can see Ward 59's got 2 that we've just handed over. But the area that we were talking about, there is the Ward 59 right in the middle, where I was saying that one is handed over to the community. So that speaks directly to the area we're talking about here now. So if we just be specific to this area, that's the one. But in the region, I was referring to the others as well. But this, yeah, so this is where we are. At the moment, we've got that borehole. The water tankers, if I'm sure you'll see this screen as well. Can you see this one, Chairperson? There is, again, the same areas we're talking about here. So the number is 4 that we send to this particular area. Yeah.
Okay. Now, can I also just thank you for that, right? And I think Mr. Lil Rathan has been making notes as well. Can I also just ask, you see, is there any dispensation, for example, like for older people, disabled people? Because one of the complaints we have heard is that an old person can't get to a water tanker, right? Is there any way where you notify, like maybe somebody in the community, to say that the water tank is coming, can you assist, or is there anything like that? Because there is hardship for people, particularly the aged and the disabled.
That challenge, because I think, as I mentioned, we're meeting twice a week. That challenge has been raised. What we are working on, Chairperson, we have a sachet plant. We do not currently do it the way you are describing now, but we want to get there's a sachet plant that we have, and I have to follow up on that, because we need to get that to work, because that can go to their homes. Specifically, I think we would have to identify, because it's not a lot of water you can deliver that way. But if we identify, as you say, the elderly, then we can deliver for them the sachets. So that will be what will be practical, Chairperson, and I'll follow up on that. So maybe it's another commitment. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to hold you to these commitments, huh? Mr. Lil Rathan, you are hearing as well what is being said. I want to also say that we need to get Operation Sugumasake, right? The committee in your area working, because it has all government departments in it, and that might assist also in the identification of the beneficiaries. Honourable Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. I think one must also not forget to appreciate the fact that I think he's a deputy city manager responsible for also water, that he actually sits in these meetings at least once a week, and his team. Two, we as much as we are harsh in the way that we are dealing with this matter, we also want to appreciate the fact that there is a plan. But what we are requesting, Mr. Msweli, we know you're not the one who's on the ground. Can we get officials on the ground to make sure that everything that we say we are going to do, we do? Because you can see that there is money which is being used to commission your boreholes, to do everything that we are given here in the meeting that we are going to do, which means we have a plan. Can we then make sure that this plan is implemented? If you would assist us by giving us at least a report, a weekly report every Friday, to say this is what has been done for this community and for this long. This is what has been done for this week, maybe for the next 2 to 3 weeks, so that we can be able to see that these meetings that we are sitting now do not become fruitless and they don't come up with results. There's nothing as upsetting, Honorable Governor, to hear the Human Rights Commission saying that the legislature does not play its oversight role. That for me was the worst thing that I could ever hear, because we know that your committee and most of the committees in the legislature, we play our role. Mr. Msweli is an official that knows the committee of COGTA, because the issues of water, we've always been drilling and working with them. So, but all we are asking now is to be given your progress report on a weekly basis so that we can be able to track. Not that we are going to be doing the work, it's just an issue of oversight to see that really and honestly our people are receiving the water. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Taylor. I think that you've hit the nail on the head. Look, I don't think that we can take this in terms of what has been done and what is going to be done. We've got the reports. So I think Honourable Taylor is correct. There has to be a progress report on a weekly basis that is submitted through COGTA, right, to the Portfolio Committee and to SCOPA, I think, because we call this meeting, so that we can track what is going on. Mr. Lilrathan, I think there is some comfort. You can see, and we must appreciate the fact that the municipality has put in place plans. You know, one of the problems is also that communication isn't adequate, right? And, you know, even the interim measures are not, you know, they cobble together. But hopefully out of this meeting and going forward, we can see that there have been allocations, etc., done. It'll be tightened up. It's not just the committee that Mr. Lilrathan is speaking on behalf of. There are other areas, and we're glad to see the citywide plan for water, because water provision and the long, medium and long term, right? Now, this is all bureaucrat speak. To the ordinary person in the street, all they want to know is, when I open my tap, when is there going to be water, right? So you need to jack up your communication so that people understand this. And also, the best oversight comes from the recipients of the service. They will tell you, right? We can sit here and say, right, there's water there. The guy who opens the tap will say, no, there's no water, right? So we need that community participation as well, and those weekly meetings are then important. But before we round up, right, we've asked, and by the way, Mr. Lilrathan, all that has been discussed is recorded. It doesn't go into the air, and we will have it as a record, which we will hold the municipality and others too. Let me hand over to Mr. Mabuya Kulu, who very kindly, because I understand how much of pressure he's under, he's got to report to the president, right? And again, I must emphasize the fact that it may have taken a while to bring all these role players together, Mr. Lilrathan, but it doesn't mean that the issue is unimportant, right? It's important enough right? And the issues in Ethekwini are important enough for the president to have appointed a special team which reports directly to him. Now, I also want to say, before I let Mr. Mabuya Kulu talk, that we do understand this protocol, right? They are appointed by the president, so obviously they report to the president first. And Honorable Kelly, you'll understand our experience with the SIU, where we will only get reports from the SIU after they file to the president first, right? But thank you very much, Mr. Mike Mabuya Kulu, for being here. We know you are the co-convener. Can you please, you've heard, and I'm very glad that you've heard, right? You are the co-convener of the presidential team appointed to work in Ethekwini. Can you just share some insights or words with us? Thank you.
Good morning to you, Madam Chair, Honorable Chair, and good morning to Ms. Stelle, the Honorable Chair of the Local Government COGTA Portfolio Committee, and to all other honorable guests who are here and everyone who's present. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. First and foremost, I just want to say that in times of difficulties, we need calm and sober minds, but more importantly, we also need exceptional doers. We are dealing with a crisis here that I think all of us appreciate. We appreciate that no human being can live without having access to water. And I think it's a point that has been well made. And the reason why the president has established this presidential Ethekwini working group is because he listened. When he was here in February, he met with some various stakeholders, and he saw the need to catapult some of these interventions and the support that needs to be provided to the city to be done at the level of where you bring the all spheres of government, the national sphere of government, the provincial sphere of government, as well as the city as well. Of course, the presidential Ethekwini working group is here to provide support. We are in no way taking over or actually almost putting the city under administration, no. But at the same time, it means there are certain things the president is expecting. We are expecting to ensure that in areas where there are difficulties, there are quick interventions. And in those quick interventions, we are able to have where are those short-term interventions, where the medium-term interventions, and where the long-term interventions. And in the 8 work streams that have been established, water and sanitation is one of those main primary work streams that is there. So the issue that I've listened today being raised, and I think in all of the issues, some of them have been dealt with by the responses or their plans afoot. All we would need to do is that we would need to keep each other accountable. If there is a commitment made to deliver certain things by a particular timeline, we need to live up to that. And if someone can't achieve the timeline, there must be some level of accountability. And I think one of our workers, therefore, from the Presidential Ethekwini Working Group will be that once we have been able to discuss and review timelines, because in some instances, we will review timelines after having listened, because it would be interested where it is possible to ensure that we cut in those timelines. We can do so. But where it is possibly reasonable to do so and logically rational to do so. So I'm actually indicating to everyone in the meeting that what we heard is that there is a plan and there's a commitment to dealing with some of these issues. But we may then, through our own engagement, as you correctly mentioned, Madam Chair, that we will be reporting to the President that some of the issues already, we are 2 weeks having been appointed by the President. In the 2 weeks, we have already engaged with some of the stakeholders. We will be engaging with civil society. And therefore, we take the ratepayers and the Verulam Crisis Committee and any other type of organization of this nature as part of civil society. And that in our engagement process, we will also be engaging with them. And I must indicate that we are fully aware of the letter that they had written to the President. And for us, the President can only then respond by actually doing the way he has done, by appointing the Presidential Ethekwini Working Group to try and dealing with the issues in Ethekwini. So I just want to simply say, from that point of view, Chair, we will work with everyone to ensure that we expedite the solutions. But to also take this matter even further, we are having our own separate engagement, of course, with the Minister of Water and Sanitation. And there is an extraordinary meeting that is shortly being planned, that it will take place, and that we will be looking at some of these issues at the level of the national sphere of government and see how the interventions, as Minister, the Honorable Minister Mkhunu, has already visited the area twice. So we will be having some of those discussions and looking at what are the things that can be expedited, if there are any, and where and what can be done. So I just want to say to you, Madam Chair, you are correct that we cannot deal with some of those issues before we report to the President. But the President has given us a very clear instruction. He needs us to be able to identify short-term interventions, to identify medium-term interventions and long-term interventions. And some of those already are part of the plan in the package that are there. All we would need to do is to ensure that we are able to commit the execution of the task. It's not more about planning. Ours is more about execution and implementation, and therefore ensuring that we support the city in actually implementing what would have been agreed to. So on that score, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I must say I appreciate the spirit in which all of the contributions have been made in this meeting. And I think it gives us a better platform for us to be able to deal on the issues going forward. And the one issue I must say that I did pick up was the cry for the review of the current billings, that people have been sitting with 330 days without water, and therefore that there is a need for us to be able to consider what kind of a relief can be given in that regard. It's a matter we have taken amongst many of the issues, and I'm just mentioning it because it has not been mentioned so far. But that matter, I listened to it, and we think we should find a way in which we can be able to take that matter forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mabuya Kulu. Your words give us comfort, because at the highest level, there's an acknowledgement and a recognition of the difficulties faced here in the metro by the President, who very often is maligned, but I think he hears and he acts, and the establishment of this team that you are co-chairing is indicative of that. So I think in the light of that, and I want to remind Mr. Lil Ratan, you heard what Mr. Mabuya Kulu said. They will be engaging with civil society. Please ensure that you participate so that the issues are raised, although I know he has made note of them, but you can raise your issues again. I'm going to be rounding up now and to say also that we will hold the municipality to the commitments that have been made. The chairperson of COGTA and myself will work together. And I know that the municipality will honor these commitments because you've done them in a place where you will be held accountable. Not that we doubt it. We also appreciate the work that you are doing because it's often quite thankless. And, in listening to the presentation that was done by the Verulam Water Crisis Committee, you could see that there were also perceptions that had been presented. But when you did your presentation as the municipality, those things were cleared. Things like valves, etc. It was clarified, right? So that the perceptions also would get cleared and the facts were stated. It then means that your weekly meetings need to also very clearly state what is going on so that everyone is on board. But I'd like to thank everyone, starting from the chairperson of COGTA, going through to the officials of the Department of COGTA, as well as the officials of the municipality, and very importantly, and from the officials from the National Department were here. The Chapter 9 institution, the Human Rights Commission was here. I'm not sure if the AG's office did eventually pitch up, but we will communicate with them. And most importantly, I think our community organization that's so fit to call on the legislature to assist and support them, which hopefully we have contributed in some way towards, and to honor and to remind you that as a legislature, this is what we are supposed to do. This is why we are public representatives. Would like to thank all of you. I think that this has been a fruitful meeting, in the sense that we've got clarity, we've got timeframes, we've got a picture of what is being provided, and we also see the gaps, what still needs to be provided and what needs to be addressed, things like the billing, which Mr. Mabuya Kulu has raised, and I think these will be followed up. So with that, we'd like to thank all of you. I don't know, Mr. Lil Ratan, do you want to say anything as we close?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and particularly Honorable Kele and Honorable Mabuya Kulu and my colleagues that are here. Thank you once again for adhering to our call for assistance. Thank you for listening to us. And, initially I accused government of being uncaring because we were left alone as a community to fend for ourselves. But I am glad that this engagement has taken place this morning. I'm glad that our legislature has now paid heed to our clarion call for help, and including the Office of the President. Just to take away from us, I would like, through yourself, Chairperson, if that reports that were presented today are emailed to myself, so I can share that with my community and my committee. And we'll await adherence to these resolutions going forward from here. And we look forward to meeting with the presidential convener, Honorable Mabuya Kulu, going forward. And we'd like to also have further engagements with the Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, because just like she's indicated, we have an apology that was given today, fair enough. And, I'm not a difficult individual. But do you apologize after 300 days and tell a community?
Mr. Lil Ratan, let's not go there. I think we're ending on a good note. Let's do that. I think the points have been noted in relation to that.
Yes. So my takeaway on that issue, Chairperson, is that there have been correspondence sent. Let them respond to that correspondence as well. And yes, thank you again from my committee and my community, particularly on the issue of the boreholes and tankers. We'd like that to be fast-tracked urgently, particularly the Jojo static tank rollout that Mr. Msweli has indicated, a contract's now being signed by the city manager. If that's expedited for the worst affected areas, it is some reprieve to those roads where these residents are dwelling. The last thing from my side, Mr. Mabuya Kulu mentioned about looking at reviewing timelines. I'm making an appeal to Mr. Msweli through you, Chairperson, for them to relook at the time frame for the Grange to Mount View Reservoir line and also for the commissioning of the aqueduct. I believe if the commissioning of the main trunk line, from Phoenix to Mount View is expedited, it brings quicker relief to our communities. And this war room that we have in Verulam as the water crisis with the Human Rights Commission, with Ethekwini, may be a thing of the past in days to come, because it would bring major relief to our people.
Okay, so I think that is something that is noted. That's why Mr. Mabuya Kulu raised it. And you are correct. We will be looking at all of that, and we hopefully will see a much better picture going forward.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lil Ratan and your committee. I think the important thing here, everyone, is that, one, we do need to be responsive. When people raise issues, let's immediately deal with them, however big or however small they are. Remember, it's the public that pays all of us. So we should actually, but we shouldn't do it out of that. We should do it out of service. And I think that we should improve on most definitely. Secondly, communication. The war rooms that are set up, the Operation Suguma Sake, all of those need to improve as well so that you fast-track things. Thirdly, commitments have been made. I'm summarizing here. Commitments have been made with timeframes. They must be honored, and we will be taking those weekly reports Fourthly, we will forward the copies of the presentations to the committee as requested. Once we receive them, they will come to you and you can disseminate that information. And we'd appreciate it if the information was disseminated. I think information is power. The more that people know and understand, the more at ease and peace of mind they will have. And with that, let me then thank all of you, as I have done, for availing yourselves here. But obviously, this is not an issue that is over. We will be tracking it. Thank you very, very much. The meeting is now closed.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair.